I wanted him gone. But yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hit the live. We were still talking. That's my fault. We got a W. Let's talk about it because it has been a doggone minute since we've had a happy therapy session, and we got a commitment to talk about Let's Go on Wisconsin.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. We got the trio here. As always, the incredible Justin and the great Rajiv are joining us, and I am humbled to have their time, as I always am. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Job Slips, you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedon. College terms and conditions to apply. As always, greatly appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody that's going to watch this later. Guys, however you feel, and I know we were talking animately before the show about Greg Gard, the program we're at. We got a W. It has been a minute, and that means we are jumping up awesome on that line.
It's a good day for me. Come on in here, buddy. Get up on that line.
I might even.
This is awesome.
Okay.
It's a good day for me.
Oh, stop.
Come on in here, buddy.
Well, you did that.
I hate how it defaults to looping. It's so annoying.
It's so annoying, and I thought I clicked it off actually that time. But guys, so Wisconsin beats Rutgers in a game that was pretty pitched for most of it. Rutgers went on a couple runs. Wisconsin battled back. Wisconsin effectively in the last about 6 minutes of the game takes over. Ends up winning pretty comfortably despite kind of a weird last 45 seconds of random turnovers and Rutgers attempts, but comfortably finishes out the game. Let's just kick it around. As always, we go player of the game, some big thought. Rajiv, we'll start with you on this one, and we'll kick it around the horn.
What a nice game to have. How about just a win, please? Thank you very much. You know what? So let's see. Player of the game. I think you can go a couple different directions here. I want to just give it to. I'm sorry. I'm pulling up my stats. I'm going to give it to John Blackwell. I think Blackwell just had such a good poised game. Storr had a lot of points, but I still think Storr had some weird stuff, but he played great. John Blackwell is so poised all the time. Like, he doesn't take bad shots. He's in control. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's dependable. He worked hard defensively. I just felt like I want to see him play more. I'm excited that he's a freshman. I hope he goes nowhere. That's my player of the game to me because it's just a poise. Like, and sometimes you see other players get a little helter-skelter and a little crazy. He doesn't. He just keeps it right here, and that's an extremely valuable tool.
You're not going to give it to Crowell for padding his stats with 5 rebounds and proving that 7-footers can't hit layups.
But he still got the rebounds, Justin.
You hate him so much.
He plays center like he's 6'1".
He got 4 offensive rebounds on one possession. I haven't seen Shaq do that.
He was effectively seeing if he could try to get a Will Chamberlain game where he could just get 50 rebounds by throwing it off the backboard to himself consistently.
He still finished and got the free throws. Justin, player of the game for you.
It's Blackwell. I think the only other person that I would probably put is Kamari McGee just because of the spark that he gave him. If he doesn't give him that spark, I actually think they lose this game because I think his energy is what propelled them. He was the reason the offense took off, flat out.
I think the McGee shot, by the way, is great. I love McGee. Obviously it's just for first of all, it's so nice to see him back. Look at our record with McGee, by the way. Like, McGee's been out since January. We come back, we win a game. I mean, we haven't won a lot of games lately, so
it's hard to compare this game to his previous games, though.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it's just nice. It's nice to see the spark. The spark is huge. Chucky got some rest. That was great. That was good.
Commandant says Blackwell was awesome. Got to give it to me. I agree. Got to give it to McGee. Sorry, I agree. I'm multiple IPAs in. McGee's my guy too. Here's the thing. McGee was like the Avatar. He got frozen in an iceberg for 100 years and we fell off a cliff and now he's back out of the iceberg. I don't know if anybody watches Avatar. But,
I've seen it.
But he's back out of the cliff and now everybody's running for cover because the Badgers are back to who they were. But no, in all reality, this was awesome to see from McGee, right? A guy who's really scrapped for what he's had to get, who was playing pretty well at the beginning of the year. He comes out at home, the crowd's into it. He's back and he was super aggressive, right? Finishing at the rim. He had a great left-hand finish over Rutgers at the rim, hits that big 3-pointer in the corner. By the way, pretty good defensively too from him. Like, he was awesome today. I hope Max Klesmit is okay. I don't know if we've seen any type of update on that. Obviously, he went out, which gave Kamari more minutes, but Yeah, to me, it's Kamari McGee because he gives you that spark. He gives you another guy off the bench. He gives you some quickness that this starting rotation doesn't have. And he came out fearless tonight. I loved it. Yeah, to me, it's absolutely Kamari McGee.
He deserves so much credit. And it's going to be really nice, by the way, to have him for the stretch run into March. Like that's great. And we're going to need that spark. We're going to need that defense, need that point guard ability. Yeah, just so good.
Yep. What's something else from this game? Big picture, good, bad, somewhere in between. Justin, we'll start with you on this one. Anything else that you're picked up just watching it?
My biggest takeaway is that if we're playing a team that actually has a good offense, we're in trouble with this because we're not going to be able to come back. Rutgers is pretty pedestrian, if not bad, offensively. They're very, very good defensively, but they're not going to run away from anybody. And this team was against a team that has good defense and good offense is going to get run off the court because they're not going to let us come back. And I don't think we're good enough defensively to get stretches like this against a better team, which has been kind of the story of the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of my things that I didn't like is, boy, I'll tell you what, our pick and roll defense is some of the worst I've ever seen in my entire life watching basketball. It is shocking to watch.
Ryan, your son's team, I think, is better at pick and roll defense.
I don't know about that.
The pick and roll defense is so bad. I mean, how many open jumpers are we just going to give teams? How many times are we not like, are they not communicating? What is happening? Like, it's just, I don't think we have to be, I'm not kidding you. We have to be the worst pick and roll defensive team in America. I don't think you could find another team that plays the pick and roll that poorly. What are we doing out there? How has that not been somewhat corrected? That's the only negative thing I'm going to say on the show tonight, by the way. That was really bad. Well, I'm not the only thing, but that was really, really bad. It annoyed the crap out of me.
Well, it's been consistently bad, too. So that's the funny thing,
It looks worse tonight. It looked really bad tonight.
Well, I would say is analytically, it's better to give up mid-range jumpers than layups. If we're trying to find any type of silver lining here, but like, no, you can't give up wide open shots like consistently to decent Big Ten players, to decent Power 5 players. You're going to get torched. The one thing I would say, and this is just more of an anecdote, like you're watching the game and you're like, how many times this year, because the announcers are talking about, oh, Rutgers isn't usually a good three-point shooting team, but oh, they hit another. Like, how many times this year we heard that against the Badgers, right? Like, oh, this team's not normally very good from the perimeter. Well, there's another one that went in. How odd. No, it's not odd. This is a trend. This defense stinks. And at one point, I forget who was even on the call right now. Again, I'm multiple IPAs in, but
Robbie Hummel was the
Hummel. Thank you, the color guy, Hummel. And he said, well, they're going to have to fix that defense. It's not getting fixed.
Yeah, there's no fix.
This is what it is. Like, this is the worst Badger defensive team in a while.
But
I will say this though, and I think this is, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I think the defensive intensity was up this game. And look, we're not very good defensively, but if we stand any chance to advance in the Big Ten tournament and advance in the NCAA tournament, we have to play with that kind of intensity the entire game. Like the first half, there were moments where we looked really flat. And then in the second half, you saw some defensive intensity. I want to see the effort. I know we're not going to be a good defensive team. I get that. I'm over wanting that to change. But the effort is something that you absolutely can control. And I think that was improved tonight. Maybe it was getting hyped about Tyler Wall's last game at the home and all these things. But so that has to be the baseline now. Like that has to be what's expected of you as far as effort level on the defensive side. I feel it could even get better, but that to me was way better than previous games that we played. And it shows up in the final score.
That's just the issue that I have with this team, though. I don't think that effort is something that has been consistent, and I think it's actually one of the reasons why I don't believe in this team necessarily, because I think they're kind of soft there. Like, those are the tough things to do in basketball. It's really hard to bust your butt on defense and give strong effort for 40 minutes. It's so hard to maintain that level, especially when things don't always go right. And that's kind of what we've seen. Like, they're kind of front runners. They get out there and offensively, it's easy to go out there and play when things are rolling offensively. It's easy to have the energy level up. It's fun. Everyone's having a good time. But when you're defensively have to dig in, and this is kind of what Bo's teams were so good at when he was there, they would bust their butt on defense, and they would, like, even if the offense was bad, the energy level on defense was always super high.
Yeah. And that's not consistent this year. Rajiv, you talked a lot about the pick and roll defense. We talked about it before. Again, a big part of that is the guards, they can't get around the pick. They don't consistently get around that screener and then wall up the defender. And then we don't have rim protection. So it's like just multiple facets of this breaking. And we were talking some analytics before. Both Hepburn and Klesmit were better at that last year. And they've kind of fallen off a cliff in terms of getting around that pick and roll this year. It's kind of odd. We do have to take a quick break for our friends of the show. We're going to come back. We got a bunch of your comments. Justin, I see you about to say something, so you can lead off whatever that is next segment. I don't want to interrupt you, but we do have to take a quick break for our friends of the show. And you guys like sports, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. There is a great way to get all your sports over at Fire TV from Amazon, amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV for all your sports, new sponsors of the show. This is a great platform. I recently got a new one of these. I got the Fire Stick. I plug it in. The user interface is incredible. I'm over 40 years old now. Even though the face looks like a 33-year-old, the body is a 41-year-old. And I need simple, easy things. The Amazon Fire Stick, you plug it in. The user interface is incredible. It has everything you want for sports. Opening weekend on baseball, college basketball tournament, March Madness. You're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV also recently created Fire TV channels, which deliver you a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free, including the Locked On Network. We're on that too. So you can get more of us, more of Justin, more of Rajiv. Plug it up on that 65-inch screen and see Justin and Rajiv and myself in all of our glory. Or maybe don't do that.
What glory? I have Fire TV. I absolutely love Fire TV. It's good stuff.
Yes, it's absolutely incredible. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. That's amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV, your sports destination. All right, Justin, you were about to say something. Where were you going
to talk about Greg Gard?
Well, I mean, I may have made a comment before coming into this that if my perfect game would be somehow Wisconsin wins, yet Greg Gard loses. So
terrible.
It is. I'm out. I'm just out. I'm out. I was out early on Christ. I'm out on him at this point. I love seeing the guys get a win, but I'm so frustrated with the way he coaches that it drives me nuts. I hate the rotations because I think that we put ourselves in a lot of our own issues because of the fact that we're so tight-fisted with who we put out there. He basically runs people till they're on fumes, and then other teams make runs because they're fresher and they get people out and move and go through their roster better. It's and then we won't get into the roster construction, but I get it. We had a good win. I'm glad we were able to get back on the board. I'm over it at this point. Like I've become somewhat apathetic, and I just want to see my team have that ceiling that we've seen in the past.
I just want to see my team win games. I'm going to put up a comment here.
So do I.
Evan Malone says, I like this comment. I don't like this comment from Evan Malone says, I agree with Justin. I don't like that, Evan, but I like this one. Best way to treat the rest of the season with this basketball team is to just take it one game at a time and stay even keeled. Look, we've had a really rough month. We've had a lot of bad reaction shows, but we're in March. Anything can happen. Let's just take this one game at a time. We're not going to beat Purdue. And if we do, that's crazy. And they will have just rested everybody for some odd reason. But we're going to finish above 500 in the Big Ten, which I know we've had a rough month, but that's still a good accomplishment. I'm still happy about that. I want to see us perform in March. I will never, ever root for this team to lose. I will never do it. I know that people are wanting us to lose because they want Gard out. It's never going to be me. And I just want to see us win games, and I want to see us finish strong. If at the end of the year, we analyze the season and Gard has to go, then Gard has to go. But I just want to see us I want to have something to be excited about. March Madness is an exciting time of year. So wherever the seed is, if it's 6 or 7 or 5 or whatever it is, hopefully we get a good matchup. Hopefully we can get to the round of 32 and have a shot at the Sweet 16. I live for moments like March. I live to watch my team and get excited about it. And I just want to be able to have that. So this tonight was, to me, a step in the right direction, only because it's not a big game. Playing Rutgers is not a big game, but it was an important game. We needed to get up off the mat and have a game where we actually look like a freaking basketball team and can actually win a game and can take control of a game in the second half. We had a ton of that early in the season. We've had the stretch where we've looked horrible. This is important. It was nice to just watch our team. And I was jumping up off the couch when Storr had his dunk and McGee hit his 3. And there was just, I love that. I want that. I love games like this where I can actually be excited. So good job, boys. Let's keep this going one game at a time.
Yeah, I want to put up a couple comments here because this really illustrates the kind of dual personality of Badger fans have right now. Jason Gild says, we're just delaying the inevitable with Gard at this point. Mark F says, Gard is a good coach. This is a good team. Mark D says, Gard is a good coach. He's not going anywhere. John Berger said, Justin has taken over the train. like Justin the engineer from Commandant Clink. Like, it is a very separated fan base. And the one thing I said this on a previous show, guys, and I don't think you guys were on it. Just don't get toxic with each other. I know it's the internet, and I know it's super easy, and I know it's incredibly easy to get angry at other Badger fans. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing, I promise you. Wherever we are on Guard, we all want good Badgers basketball. And I remember with Chris, and it's happening with Guard, where people are just crushing each other if you think differently on Guard. I would just say don't take it out on other Badger fans is what I would hope had.
And I get it. And honestly, even with me, like with talking with you guys on it, because I've gone to the point now where my mind is made up that it gets hard when other people are like want to kind of push you back in the other direction. It's like, no, I'm done. I don't want to go back in the other direction. My mind is made up. I've seen enough. And that's, it is what it is. Like, you guys, you have your own perspective on it, and that's totally fair and legitimate. It's just, it's hard when you feel like you're sold completely on something. Mm-hmm. Feel like the other person's just not seeing this problem the same way that you are, which is why I understand that people get that way. The problem is you can't abuse somebody over it. Like, that's not a legitimate way to handle it. That's not how you have a conversation.
I would say your perspective is completely fair too. Like, you were right. We're going to finish 1-4 down the stretch. You absolutely nailed that. And it's fair to give you
2-3. I think we're going to be 2-3.
We're going to be 2-3.
Maryland and Rutgers.
Maryland and Rutgers. Yeah.
Oh, you were wrong. Screw that.
He was wrong.
Yeah,
I was waiting to say that.
I still thought losing record.
No, take back everything I said. Your perspective's trash. You were wrong. No, but your perspective's completely fair too. Like, and I just don't want this thing to get toxic where every game we're shouting at each other over Greg Gard, for better or worse. I do want to point out,
like I said, even we're going to go. He's going into next year. Like, as much as I want him to be gone after this season, he'll be around next year. And I think that that's where I struggle with this. I'm one of those people that when I don't think a coach has it, let's be done with it. Let's move on, and even if you're wrong with your next choice, at least you're trying to make a change that's for a positive direction. I get frustrated when we see coaches that are hung on to jobs for multiple years after just because they're treading water. And it's like, you can want more than this. Like, you don't have to be here. Like, I understand that there's always a chance you turn into Nebraska football or things go downhill, but Nebraska football happened because they made bad coaching hires. Whoever was in the seat there bringing those people in made the wrong decision. And we've talked about this multiple times. There's tons of really good basketball coaches out there, a lot of which aren't getting opportunity even at the Division I level. And people just don't want to take the chance to bring them in. Well, Bo Ryan's going to be in the Hall of Fame probably shortly. He was a guy who absolutely crushed at Division III and was brought up and proved that he could do it at Division I.
I hear that take, Justin. I think that's a very fair take. Like, about once you see that your team doesn't have the future, move on. And I may feel like that at the end of the season. I said I'm going to totally reserve judgment until this whole season's done, because I certainly, being full honesty, I absolutely have moved much closer to the side of get rid of Gard lately. And I said that on the Bucky Report this past weekend. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of red flags popping up. But when the end of the season is here and we see how we do in March, we'll assess that. And I feel like fans can make up their mind. And if that's the direction of the program, I respect that. But I'm still not like, we have to, Gard has to leave. I'm just not there yet. But I am moving in that direction, but I'm still not there. Because of that 8-1 start, that's still there. It's still like, I still remember it. And I'm still that was so great. And to think that we were actually put in a position to potentially win the Big Ten. Obviously we finished far from that, and we had a horrific month. And there's a lot of reasons for that, whether it's, partly because of, McGee's injury and a lot of things and depth issues and people just not shooting very well, obviously bad defense, but I just, we'll see, right? Like, let's just see how March goes. I'm not saying it's going to be great, but we absolutely could make a Sweet 16. Definitely don't think that's going to happen, by the way. But anything can happen in a single elimination tournament. Anything can happen.
Whether it be in Cabo and next coach Paris, Bennett, or Smart, I will tell you right now, it won't be any of those guys. It just won't be. I would be shocked if it's anyone we know off the top of our heads, and I don't think it should be. I'm kind of over this whole let's bring in a coach that's kind of sitting around mediocre in the Power Five. Find somebody who's
mediocre though.
Well, no, Paris is killing it, but I don't think he has he's not coming here because of Gard. They are too close, and I've heard from multiple people say that that's just not happening, that he would kind of view it as an affront if he followed up after him based off of the fact that he was so close to Gard. Bennett's not coming here because he can stay in Virginia for as long as he wants. And if he had the opportunity previously, I don't think he was even coming here when Gard got the job. Beyond that, I just think that there are plenty of other coaches out there that have proven more at other levels than finding somebody who's kind of sitting in the middle in Power 5. I just don't think it changes much if you bring one of those guys in. Now, if you find somebody that's absolutely crushing it at, say, like a group of 5 conference, I'm great with that. Look at what Mark Few did at Gonzaga. Like, that was a team that was obviously that school had some previous experience that they're really good, but he took it and he's turned it into a dominant team for an extended period of time. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a coach that's dominating at another level. Could be Division II, could be Division III. Those coaches are used to working with a lot less and having to find ways to dominate, which is why I think that you're better off bringing somebody like that in if they do have recruiting chops, because if they can find talent to put on that and they already have a system and can make things work with guys who aren't super athletes, it's going to really show when they get around at this level and can get players in that can do more than what they're expecting.
You have turned this show after a win into a who's the next coach show. Like, you have literally just decided.
To be fair, I did say I was out on him.
Let's talk who's next. I don't care. We have to take a quick break for our friends of the show over at LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs remains your number one source for all of your hiring needs. And listen, either of these two guys walked in the door, I would hire them. I wouldn't need LinkedIn. But if you don't know people, you need LinkedIn. You need the number one tool for hiring managers, screening questions to screen out all the people. I've told the story before about the guy that wanted to kill his wife that interviewed for a job at my company, and they were like, nah, you're good. But if they had LinkedIn, they could have screened that dude out before he got in the door. That's the whole point. You save time, you save money, you get the right people in front of you. That's why LinkedIn remains the number one source for hiring, as rated by small businesses year after year, the number one professional network. LinkedIn cannot be beat. If you're a hiring manager, if you're looking for a job, whatever it is, it's something our company uses. And there is a great offer right now. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right. Guys, I do want to, and we have a lot of time for comments. Well, some time for comments too. I want to get into comments, but I think it'd be remiss if we didn't also talk about a new commit for the Badgers. We didn't do kind of a hit earlier in the day because I knew this show was coming up, and I figured we could just kind of all loop it in together. So let's fire the cannons.
The recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
I don't think I'm going to loop that one.
Fire the recruiting cannons.
So Torrin Petaway, in-state kid, which is going to make some people happy. 6'5", 250, 260. Composite 3-star defensive lineman, which should make everybody happy. And Justin, you mentioned this when we were kind of chatting before. Interesting offer list. Like, there's some real nice offers on this kid's list.
Washington,
USC, Illinois is in there, Wisconsin, obviously. I think
Illinois knows defense, so yeah.
There's 3 or 4 other ones in there. So interesting offer list, big frame. Guys, thoughts on Torrin Petaway? I'll just start with, I think you need multiple defensive linemen in this class, and
we need 4. This needs to be a 4 defensive lineman.
Yeah, and I think Leteju is probably going to end up as a defensive lineman too. I think
you can play. Who is the defensive end that Green Bay got out of USC? Nick, what was his last name? They turned him into an outside linebacker. He played defensive end at USC. He kind of reminds me of him a little bit. In that I think that for Leteju, I think that he's going to be a big rush end type guy. He's not going to be a guy you're going to drop in space. He's going to be effectively run the guy who's setting the edge, and he's going to be pass rushing. But Nick Perry, that's exactly what it was. I think that's how I feel about Leteju. I think he's going to be that type of guy. I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be really strong, and he's going to have better quickness than you're expecting. And I think that will play really well in college. I think that he has a chance to get drafted if he turns into that type of player. In terms of Petaway, I see a very, very raw guy who has some good athleticism, who I look at the film and say, I don't know what to make of this because of the fact you've played so little football. Because there's a lot of things I look at that you could see just how raw he is. And even just his get off and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know how quick this guy probably actually is because he's not comfortable yet. When he gets a year under his belt where this becomes second nature to him and we can see the explosion even more, that's when we're going to see it. Like his senior film, I think will tell us a lot. And I think it will look a lot better than what it is right now. I do think that there's some things there. Like I think he's got a chance to really be a better player for us than some of the guys we have in the room currently. I look at him and I think this is a guy closer to a 5-tech that they've been looking for. I think he probably plays with us around 280 and is going to be a guy who has some pretty good quickness. And I think that has some good athleticism. I don't know. What are your thoughts on him, Ryan, based off what you saw?
Well, Rajiv, I kind of kicked it off. Where are you at on Torin?
Yeah. For me, it's all about the athletic tools. The guy has it. And, when I think about a guy like that with that kind of frame, I immediately think Brady Collins. You put that guy with Brady Collins, who knows what he can do? We don't know. It's one of these things where you just fill in the room with bodies and fill in the room with athletic tools. And clearly this coaching staff has an MO, a type of guy they're going after. And I like that. They're going after guys that have an increased level of athleticism, especially on all over, just not just interior, outside, everything. And I like that. What the guy's going to end up being, who knows? Do I like him? Yes, because of the tools. I like the athletic upside. And to me, that's the only thing I see right now is athletic upside. Give him to Brady Collins and see what we can have. We need people in this room. It has clearly been the deficiency of this defense. So I'm all about it. Like I love the commits. Anytime I see a DL commit, I'm excited, especially when he has tools like Petaway does.
Not that hopefully I don't butcher this. Nick Flayhive, does this offer list mean that he should be a 4-star after a senior year? I don't think you ever put it directly on an offer list. I think he's where he should be right now based off of what you see in terms of athletic tools. I don't think the film is there right now to make him a 4-star. There are guys that Wisconsin's in on right now that are closer to 4 stars that I look at and I'm like, I can see the baseline for this guy. He's more refined than what Petaway is. It's really hard to make a judgment that this guy is going to be a super productive college player until you see him do some of the things that like are moves that are, that you'd see a college player make.
Agreed.
He doesn't have the technique.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the technique yet to be a guy that you look at and you're like, this guy should be a 4-star.
No, I like. To me, he feels like a very high floor guy. He's a guy who I think with his frame is in 2 years going to develop in somebody who's going to be in the 2 deep. He's going to play probably pretty rugged in the trenches against the run. I didn't see a ton of quickness. I mean, just honestly watching the film, I didn't feel like there was a ton of burst there. But you can win in a lot of ways on the defense line. You can win with long levers, which I think he has. You can win with the big frame. You can set the edge. And quite frankly, again, we've all talked about it. You just need bodies in there right now. Like our defensive line room is like Ellis Island in the early 1900s. We'll take all that want to come. Honestly, just open up the gates. We'll take all. And you need 3 or 4 bodies in this room. Like you really need multiple guys, and you need them in waves. So I love getting Petaway just because I love getting 6'5". And with Leteju, you're right, Justin. He could be more of an outside linebacker guy, but I think he's also going to be like 6'5", 6'6".
He's going to have some room for options. I agree with you there.
Multiple spots.
I think he can be 265, and you can do some things.
He can be bigger than that potentially.
Possibly, depending on how he grows.
Yeah, and listen, part of this defense is versatility too, right? So a guy like Leteju, he's a guy maybe the hand is on the dirt on 3rd and long rushing the passer, but he's setting the edge on 1st and 10. So we just need more guys like that, and I don't think we can be that picky. So I'm all about it. I really like the pickup.
Yeah, it fits the system, right? I mean, it fits exactly what we're looking to do: increase athleticism, and I mean, hey, we may be talking about coaching on the basketball side, but nobody's talking about that on the football side. Let's go. How many days till football season?
Yeah, the one thing I will push back a little on Ryan is I think we'll find out a lot about his burst off the ball this year.
Maybe
with him getting more comfortable, because just remembering back to when I played football, that it's uncomfortable if you're not somebody that's used to it. And him being a first-year player trying to come up out of a stance, a lot of times that athleticism doesn't necessarily show right off the bat until you get comfortable with your balance and weight and everything.
Well, and I'll never write somebody off at 17 either,
yeah,
right?
No,
like, so
agreed. So much physical development.
No book is written on a 17-year-old. Chad Braid, I love this comment. I've got to get up at 3 a.m. for work, but still watching you guys. Let's go, Chad.
Yeah, Chad.
Call it sick tomorrow. Your boss isn't watching this. Okay, listen. Life advice from Ryan. Call out sick. Your boss isn't watching this. Yeah. It's okay.
Or just fake a car accident on the way.
Or just hit a tree on the way. It's all good. Life advice from Ryan.
As someone who is a manager, I hate that comment. Do not say
Call out sick. Listen, the manager makes big bucks to deal with this stuff. Let me tell you.
Bad life lessons from Ryan, by the way.
Peter Yankee says, love occasionally catching lives. You guys are awesome. Peter, thank you, my friend. That's incredible. We have a bunch of other start comments, but we're already.
Yeah, I got a couple I was going to toss up here. Just to bring up a couple discussions. So let's talk about Connor. So I think Connor's a Badger. I could be wrong, but it still seems locked in during the games. What do you guys think about Connor right now? Like, do you think he's back? I don't think he's back. Just off the surface. I mean, the guy clearly has future. And then there was another comment. Same guy said that Connor signed a new lease on a new place next year. He'll stick it out. Do you think he sticks it out?
I don't. I honestly, and I'll say flat out, I told you guys in our chat after the game, I'm like, it was such a slap in the face for him to get dropped back in with a minute left. Like, come on. Like at that point,
I don't think it's a slap in the face.
I do. Like that's a walk. That's when you bring your walk-ons in. Like he's somebody who played massive minutes for you the year before. Like when you're somebody who's actually played heavy minutes before, that's kind of like oh, here you go, champ. Get out there and you can go out there and play with the other guys who are never going to play and don't get a scholarship. Like it's kind of like, like if it was me and I had played as heavily as I played the year before, I'd be like, I don't want to go in for a minute. Like, why? What am I proving here? I'm going to show you some good film against them walking the ball up the court and running the clock out.
So I would say I'm kind of nuanced here. I agree with Justin's point. Most players who have played a lot don't like doing that. They don't like going in for 1 minute. It feels like you've been relegated to a different tier. And as a scholarship guy that played a lot, I can say from experience of coaching some players who are regulars, they don't like that for the most part. Now every player is different. Maybe Connor isn't that type of guy. I don't know. But the counterpoint to that is Connor has played really poorly this year. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think I put some of that on Gard. Like I thought Connor should have started. He had an injury. But quite frankly, he's been pretty bad. He's shooting 29% and he doesn't play very good defense. And that's like, I hate to say it, but like he's not playing that much better than the walk-on caliber players on this team right now. So he's kind of, as the play is kind of put him in that tier. And that's just the facts. The numbers will back that up. So from Gard's perspective, why are you doing the guy's favor when he played a lot last year, but he hasn't been good this year. He hasn't helped the team in the minutes he's gotten. So
he certainly hasn't had a lot of opportunities to really grow and get a higher percentage. But when he has been out there, he hasn't taken advantage of it. And I think that I was one who wanted to see him more. I wanted more minutes from him. I wanted to see him get that chance to get that rhythm back, because shooting is about rhythm. I mean, anyone who plays basketball knows that, it's all about your confidence, right? Confidence in every sport is a huge thing. So the more he plays, the more confident he is going to get. Would his shooting be better if he was playing 15 minutes a game? Sure. But this is college basketball. I mean, this is a Big Ten. Like, you have to take your chances when you get them. I mean, look at a guy like Marcus Silver. Doesn't get a lot of chances, but he's making at least something out of those minutes when he's out there. And I feel like that's why he's getting some more minutes now. And that's what Connor wasn't doing. So I don't really have an issue with not playing as much anymore, given the fact that when he has had those stretches of times, he hasn't really done much.
And I said coming into this, like before the game, before we came live here, I said flat out, I don't see a huge difference between Connor and bad Klesmit. So the games when Klesmit just doesn't have it, he's not shooting well, he's not being effective defensively, I don't see a reason why you don't put Connor out there and at least see if he provides a spark. I mean, we're 3-10 now for a reason, based off, if we lose against Purdue, we'll have been 3-10 to finish out. And part of that is because Gard outright refuses to give anyone else an opportunity to potentially provide a spark. And he'll go down with the ship with guys playing poorly. And that's frustrating. And I think that we've probably seen some of that with several of the guys. Like, there are times when we've talked about going small. Would you see it as problematic putting Ilver out there at the 4 and playing Wahl at the 5?
But he has gone small some in the last couple of games.
Yeah, we've done it the last 3 games.
With some, but that's something that it took him such a long time for something that's like, just shake it up.
But he did make that adjustment. And I would also say
it took him like 10 games to do it.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to be the bulwark on which we defend Greg Gard's ability to adjust in game. That's something that's frustrated me as well. I would say, though, you talked about the Klesmit Connor thing, and I know we were talking about this before the show. It's like the old baseball saying, you are what you are on the back of the baseball card. And even when bad Klesmit's out there, bad Klesmit is a 35% shooter. Connor's a 29% shooter. Like, so you ride with the guy who's consistently shown he can do it. And even bad Klesmit is a better defender. 100%. Yeah. That's not even arguable. I know we were kind of going back and forth. Klesmit hasn't been a great defender this year. He's a better defender than Connor. He's a.
I just think the percentages climb with Connor if he's getting similar minutes. I just think
Maybe.
they're probably about the same.
But if his percentage,
Defensively, I agree that he's probably Klesmit's slightly better. I just don't know. I think the difference is pretty negligible if you have a game where Klesmit's playing poorly. I'll take my chances bringing somebody in who might provide a spark.
But how long do you ride that leash with Connor? Because his shooting slump stretches to the end of last year. The last 2 months of last
I'm
year
not
were
arguing
bad.
that.
So at some point, it's like.
But most of his shooting this year has been games where he plays 2 to 3 minutes. Like, it's not like he's getting substantial time to kind of get comfortable. And jump shooters are just different. It's not the same as having a guy who can drive to the rim and start getting some things going positively. So much can happen with a jump shooter where it's one shot hits and you get rolling, or it can take 4 or 5 shots. And unfortunately, he's not getting the opportunity to necessarily get more than a shot or two, and then he's getting yanked again. And it's like, well, yeah, of course he didn't have a great game. He took 2 shots and he's 0 for 2. Like, it's.
But he also doesn't play.
How many times have we seen Storer look terrible? Like, start 0 for 6 or something like that this year. Like, he's had games where he's been really poor to start.
I think for all these guys, though, there's a counterpoint. Like, Storer is bigger, and like he can do things that Connor can't do.
I won't disagree on that. I'm just saying, like, you can't necessarily look at somebody from such a short sample size in a given game and take much from it, in my opinion. Now, if he played 15 minutes and he was bad for the 15 minutes, yeah, 100% you could take something from that. I just don't know what you can take away from 2 minutes. Other than defensive lapses, I think you can definitely look into. Or if you're turning the ball over on things that are obviously poor turnovers, that's a little different. Like, those are things are jarring and glaring that stick out. But if you miss a couple of shots that a ball rims out or whatever, it's like, I don't know what you take away from that. Like, that could just as easily have been a make, and now you're suddenly looking at the play completely different.
The other thing I was going to ask you guys about is if Kles is not going to play next game, does Blackwell start? Does McGee start after his performance today? I'm guessing Blackwell. I actually had a comment to go with this, and I've lost it now, but someone asked that question. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I'm guessing it's got to be Blackwell, yeah?
I think you got to go Blackwell.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Because Blackwell has been so good with minutes. Like,
he's just so low maintenance.
There's not a shot that he takes that I'm like, I don't want him shooting. Every shot he takes is a good shot.
So mentally tough in this game. So mentally strong. Yeah, absolutely.
Even when he gets blocked at the rim, at least he's bodying somebody up where you can make the argument that he could get the foul every time. Like, he's getting contact every time. It's not like he's just getting flat out blocked.
Evan Malone says, did Coach K care if JJ Redick didn't play defense? No, he gave Duke points. JJ Redick is so much better than Connor Seagen.
Yeah.
Like, you can.
I can't even argue that one. I think there's some similarities to the type of game they play, but Redick was a far more consistent shooter.
And Redick actually was a decent defender as well, for the record.
He wouldn't have made it a decade plus in the NBA if he was a bad defender.
Justin,
mediocre.
I'll kick this one to you. Badger Bournemouth, who is a great friend of the show. Justin complains about defense, but wants Connor in there.
I just think that if you have a guy who's not being productive all around, that you have to take a chance to get a spark somewhere. And this team was really struggling to find players that could provide a positive impact on the game for a long stretch, well, basically 2 months here. And we just weren't looking for opportunities to shake things up and find something that got the team rolling. I'm not okay with going down with the ship when something's not working. That to me is just, it's insanity. Like,
I was actually surprised to see him not get a minute in the first half when we were in a bit of a slump offensively. I was surprised. I was like, why is the CJ not even coming in at all just to see if he could make a 3? That did surprise me because I feel like usually he does get in the first half, a couple minutes here and there, but today it was nothing. Obviously, that's because McGee was back, but I was really surprised to see that.
I think it's probably because McGee was back in. Blackwell was playing really well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have those two pieces playing well. Hepburn, I thought this was a pretty good Hepburn game. Sometimes the steals mask some poor defense from Hepburn. I think we've all fallen victim of seeing.
I was going to say that from this season, he's had a lot of timely steals. I don't think he's been great defensively, but he has forced a lot of turnovers.
But it felt like today was better. Like it was more solid today. So
he was more locked in.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find Connor minutes when Chucky's playing pretty well, Kamari's back, Blackwell's playing pretty well. But that's probably the answer. But you're not wrong. Like, I think we all agreed at various points that Connor, we would have liked to see Connor more. But now it just is kind of a situation where it really just feels like a lost season for him. And I don't know what the point is now.
Well, and you have Freitag coming in next year, who is not going to help the argument to have Connery out on the court. Freitag's going to play. He's a combo. He's going to play shooting guard and point guard. So you're going to have to deal with the fact that, and that's with McGee likely being your backup point. Mm-hmm. So the only time you're truly going to be sliding him into the point guard duties is maybe you have him randomly bring it up the court at times, and you play him as kind of a hybrid guard out there with a point guard. But he's going to be slotted probably more at the 2 as a small 2 who's explosive than a guy who's going to be playing straight up point.
He's going to be fun, man. Rajiv, I'm going to kick this to you as probably the resident Nolan Winter fan. Cody Schmidt says, Winter sucks. I don't see it.
Well, Cody, you're not wrong about tonight. Tonight, he looked like just someone who didn't even belong on the floor. I mean, geez. I feel like he like the ball went through his hands like 4 different times. One time he could have got a steal. One time he turned the ball over. Another time he could have got a rebound. There were times, he just didn't have it tonight. I did expect to see a little more growth out of him this year. I'm not going to write him off at all. Next year, he's going to have a bigger role. Maybe we'll get another 5 in the portal. Hopefully we do. But yeah, I mean, another year of growing. He needs to gain weight. All right. He needs to put on some pounds. He needs to be tougher. He needs to train. So we'll see next year how he is. He's a freshman. I have been disappointed. I thought he would make bigger gains this year. But, we'll have to see what happens next year. Definitely the future's still there. The upside is still there.
And Herb says Kaminsky sucked as a freshman year. It's tough on freshman bigs. I think that's
I was going to say big men as a freshman never take anything away from what their first year is. It's so much changes with a year in the strength and conditioning and just skill work because they don't get the work in college, especially in high school compared to what it is now. It's not in high school back to the basket big man where he's going to be working on that stuff. Everything is different in high school basketball compared to what it is now. So it's going to be a lot of work that he was not probably routinely getting in high school at the college level.
No, I'm definitely not writing off Winter. I do think the shine is off just a tick from because there are some freshmen that are able to come in and play right away with the skills. And I think we haven't seen that from Winter, but that does not mean that the future is gone out the window either.
Yeah. But you don't often see it with bigs though. You don't often see it with 5s.
No, that's very true. Casagnendo? Gosh, I butchered that. I apologize.
Casagendo. Probably.
Thank you. I am multiple IPAs in, and I continue to use that excuse. I'm pretty sure they don't lose 7-9 if McGee had been healthy.
Agreed.
Is it possible McGee was just – no, it's fair to point out, though, McGee hadn't played like this
before. He was playing 8 minutes a game, and he was maybe averaging 2 points. I mean, he was solid.
But the thing is, and the reason I think this is a good comment, and I agree with this comment, is because Chucky wouldn't have been so dang tired. Chucky was playing 39 plus minutes a game, and that would have been a lot better. I feel like Chucky's performance would have been improved. His defense probably would have been better because also if he's not as tired, he can kind of ratchet up his defensive intensity. And McGee provides a spark. He's always provided a spark. And yes, he hasn't played like this. But I do agree. I think that anytime you have an injury to a guy that gets consistent minutes, you're going to take a hit because someone's going to have to play more. And if you're not getting the other guys on the bench to really fill that in, So now, do we go in at 7 of 9? Or are we only losing 2? No, but we're probably losing maybe 5 rather than 7.
I disagree, and the reason why I'll say that is because I think our front court was the bigger issue in a lot of those losses.
That's a fair point.
I just think the backcourt for the most part hasn't been terrible. But the games we've lost is where we've largely lost the rebound advantage, and we've had teams get to the rim against us and just flat out crush us. And I'm not sure how much that changes without rim protection and somebody who can be physical in the post and just flat out offensively scoring in the post. I feel like there was long periods where we should have probably showcased Wahl more as our post offensive player.
I agree there.
It just wasn't done.
Even today, by the way, I really think we could have gone to Wahl more early. He scored really early. Then they feel like we didn't go. We didn't we kind of went away from that. And I don't know why we did
use
that.
him as Ethan Happ. Seriously, they're similar builds. Happ had an inch on him, but the way they move in the post is very similar.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you don't look at it and be like, you know what? He consistently kind of abuses somebody bigger than him in the post. And he's got really good, nimble feet. Now, is he perfect? No, he's not. But he's more productive than Crowell is in the post against anyone who's got a pulse defensively.
Well, those two don't complement each other great. They neither provide spacing.
Because Crowell does not want to shoot from the outside at all.
Well, and Wahl doesn't shoot either, right? So they both crowd the post, which makes it a little tougher. A couple quick comments here. Badger and Bournemouth says, starting this year, if I told you we'd be third in the Big Ten with a game to go, we all would have taken it? Period? Question mark.
Context, so much context.
We're kind of tied for third, right, with two other teams.
Yeah,
we all would have taken that.
The Big Ten is such a weird year right now. Like, we're what, 11-8 right now?
Yeah, 11-8.
11-8, yeah.
And I look at it, and it's just like the Big Ten just has a big cluster of teams kind of sitting right in the middle. That none of them are truly great. So I think context matters there for a second. If we're third and we were third in the league and we were 15-6 or whatever the record would be or something like that, and say the couple of teams ahead of us had 5 and 4 losses, yeah, I'd take that in a heartbeat. That'd be a great season. Or 15-5.
Yeah. I think that I agree the context matters here. And I do agree with this to an extent, because I feel like had the losses not come in such a big bunch in February, and had we not been 8-1, maybe we would have been like 6-3 or something in that first stretch, not really being talked about as potential Big Ten champions. And then we have kind of an iffy February. Yeah, I think for the most part, yeah, I would have definitely taken third place in the Big Ten if that's all I knew. But knowing all the huge slide we had, obviously it's a little more disappointing. But that point's taken though. I think Bournemouth, I think that's a fair point.
I think it's a fair point, because I do think without context with Justin, I agree with you. It matters. How you win games, how you lose games matter. Like, that's literally how Bo Pelini got fired at Nebraska. It's how he lost games. It wasn't the overall record necessarily. That being said, B&B is right. Like, if anyone had told you at the beginning of the year, you're going to be in a three-way, you call it a three-way tie for third place in the Big Ten coming off last year's NIT, you would say the team's better. It's improved. They're going to March. And those were all things, benchmarks that we had said Greg Gard has to do. I think we would have taken that.
Well, here, let me push back on this and throw you a counter.
Do it.
Say we lose these last 2 games, and if somebody had told you that we finished 19-13 on the season, would you have taken that?
The first thing I would have said is, what's our Big Ten record? Because that to me just says a lot more about how the season went.
So it would have been 11-9.
I mean, well, no, it would have been 10-10 if we lost the last. Have we not? You're saying if we lost today?
We'll be 19-12. I'm putting in the Big Ten tournament.
I hate the Big Ten tournament.
Losing in the first. We'll be 19-12 if we lose to Purdue. So under 20 wins. That to me is a factor. Like, one of the things I brought up talking to both of you this week was how many less than 10 loss seasons has Greg Gard had in his career as the head coach of Wisconsin? He's had 1. You know how many times Bo Ryan did that? 10 times.
Can I also just say that this was one of the hardest schedules we've ever had to start the season? So like, I'm just saying, like, that's why to me overall record is hard, because it's an incredibly unbalanced schedule in college basketball, and even the Big Ten is unbalanced, but at least that provides some kind of like a measuring stick for you. When you play the schedule that we played versus some other team in the Big Ten who may have had a much better overall record, but they didn't play anybody. That's why we're still being projected as a 6th seed in the tournament, because of our non-conference schedule.
I mean,
really quick says, sorry, fellas, if somebody tells me we're going 2-8 or 3-7 down the stretch, he's calling that a failed season. Also, a completely fair perspective.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of ways you can look at this, and none of them are necessarily wrong. And John, that is a completely fair perspective. Like, you could definitely argue a healthy program with a top level coach isn't going 2-8 in maybe the most meaningful stretch of the season. I think that's a fair point. That's a terrible stretch of basketball.
Part of the reason why I have the attitude that I do is because once I looked at how jarring the difference was between him and Bo Ryan's record, like, he's not even halfway to what Bo was doing. Like, he's 8 seasons in now, and he couldn't even get to half of his seasons winning or having less than 10 losses.
I was just gonna say, like, can I remind you all that we still won a game tonight? By the way, like,
that's Justin's fault, Lee. That's Justin's fault.
It's like, had this show been like, obviously the dynamic is so different, interesting, right? Because if it was just a me and Ryan show, it would have been totally different. Now, if Justin's on the show, it's like, it's this, but that's the fun of it. That's the good. It's like the dichotomy of the opinions.
Herb Herman, Bo is 1 of 1. He definitely is 1 of 1. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that the when you really go into the numbers, the difference there is pretty sizable when you look at it statistically, and that's why I bring it up. I'm not looking for somebody to copy what Bo's done. I'm looking for somebody to at least do half again what Bo did.
All right, let's do this. Let's kind of wrap this up, because we have a ton of. I think we're just now going back into that never-ending Greg Gard discussion, which we're gonna have all off season for that. Guys, any last thoughts either on this game, big picture, football commitments, whatever it is? We always finish around the horn with any last thought that's rattling around in your brain. Rajiv, Justin, who wants anybody?
Yeah, I've got two thoughts, kind of emptying the notebook on the game. One is that it was nice to see us get back to making more free throws than the opponent took. Now, we actually made the same number, 15 and 15. That's nice. Like, I wish we would have attacked the rim a little bit, even bit more, especially in the first half when they were in foul trouble. I thought we kind of got away from that a little bit. Second thing on Store, I sometimes I feel like he tries so hard for miraculous finishes that if you just went up strong, he would get fouled more. Oftentimes, what I'm seeing is he's trying to do this like up and under move where the guy actually would foul him if he didn't do that, but actually can block him because he does do that. I wish he would just go up a little stronger. My last note is, I almost don't even want to say this because I feel like it's going to happen in the tournament of all places. Tyler Wahl, please be more careful when you take the ball out of bounds after a made basket. He is razor thin to getting an over and back call for no reason. He just barely lifts his foot up sometimes before he tosses it in. I know that they're trying to go. We're not a fast moving team, so I don't think you need to do that.
There's no need to push.
Just a little bit more careful, please, because in the tournament, I'm telling you, that's going to happen in the tournament at the most inopportune time, and I'm going to go crazy. Please be careful. That's it for me.
Yeah, the big takeaway that I had, honestly, it was when you watch Store do some of the things that he does, it's just breathtaking. It's like watching Alonzo Tucker go up and throw down dunks. And yeah, you're very right. There are times I wish he had a little more Vince Carter in him, where it's just, I'm throwing this down on your head. I don't care.
Because he'll get fouled.
I will accept the foul, but I'm going Frederick Weiss on you, and I'm gonna just
Oh God, that
throw this on your head. But it would get him to the line more rather than trying to be cute with it and trying to go around guys. It's like, dude, there are very few guys in this league that can go up with you. Just flat out attack. Yep. And maybe you're going to take some lumps doing it, but you're going to get to the line every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had that comment with him in transition. I think he gets too cute in transition too. When he should just rise up and yam on people, and if he doesn't, he's going to get fouled.
Exactly.
I think he avoids contact sometimes unnecessarily. My two quick last thoughts is the turnover stuff at the beginning of the game is just horrendous. Like, it is a joke how unforced some of those turnovers are.
Does not handle pressure well at all.
As a veteran team, Klesmit had one of the worst turnovers I've ever seen when he basically just handed a guy a ball. Winter didn't catch a pass once that just went through his hands. Wahl threw 2 passes out of bounds. Like, the turnovers are just horrendous, and they got to figure it out. So that's the bad one. The flip side, and the one thing we kind of chatted about it in our text, but I don't think we really talked about the game. I like the fact this team has not had the year anybody wanted. I bet you it's not the team they wanted. The team Greg Gard wanted. They were down 8-9 points multiple times this game, and they didn't fold. Like, there's teams that fold. And they didn't fold.
Given the last 9 games, they could have folded. So you're right.
They easily could have folded. They easily could have folded it in. They've heard noise. They know people are frustrated with Gard and this team, and it's a disappointment, and they're on a slide, and like, they're not ranked anymore. Like, they easily could have folded, and they didn't. They fought. They played hard. I think there's credit to be given there, and I thought that was really encouraging. Like, this team, for whatever it's worth, kept fighting, and I don't think that they've thrown in the towel on the season. I think Badger fans should take some solace in that.
It's a good shout.
That is all we have for today, guys. It is 53 minutes in, so it is. Listen, we could do this for hours. Honestly, we really could.
We probably will offline.
Yeah, I do appreciate, and we appreciate. There was one comment here I wanted to finish with. Rather be in Cabo says, will there be shows during the tournament? Dude, there's shows in the off season when I'm talking about walk-on punters. Like,
there's definitely going to be shows. We're doing a March Madness special on the Bucky Report on Sunday, March Selection Sunday. So join us for that. But yeah, I mean, 100% going to be tons of shows.
Yeah, there's always shows. Cannonell, I missed your comment, brother, but I haven't talked to you in a while, so I just want to give you a shout out. I appreciate everything you do, man. You're a great dude. And I missed whatever comment you were talking about, but I definitely want to give you a shout out. For everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Justin, Rajiv, thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate everybody. Despite Justin's anger, we got to win. And that's a good thing. On Wisconsin, I had to rip you, Justin. I love you, obviously. On Wisconsin, we'll talk later.
I'll take my lumps.